On the line right now is Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett, who has made an announcement recently he's going to run for re-election. We'll get to that in a moment. But Mr. Leggett, we want to start by talking about the storm damage in Montgomery County. We just recounted how sort of the middle of Montgomery County seems to have got the worst of the storm yesterday. Where are we this morning on the cleanup efforts?
Well, we're well on the way. We still have some places in the county around Route 28, the Rockville section, where we have some tree damage in some houses and still have some electrical outlets that we're working to get resolved as quick as possible with PEPCO.
All right. So what was the biggest problem you had to deal with last night?
Primarily some intersections that were out and a number of residents without power. It was significantly reduced, and I would have to compliment PEPCO for its very strong response. The outages were not as great, but any outage for any location, and we had a couple of senior locations that were adversely affected. And so, the numbers are smaller. We'll get into those, but if you're without power, it's still a problem. We want to make certain we resolve those things.
Well, but you're pleased with PEPCO because you have not always been so pleased.
No, that's correct. They are really out today and last night, and I think the game plan that they have is a very good one.
Ike Leggett, you have announced now that you're going to run for a third term as county executive in Montgomery County. Why do you deserve another term?
Well, I think when you look at the record, under some very unusual circumstances, we resolved more than $2.7 billion in budgetary challenges. If you look today, Montgomery County's financial reserves are higher than they've ever been in the history of this county. We resolved some very difficult challenges. We increased affordable housing. There are some areas certainly we have to work on, and I want to make certain that we continue to make that work happen. We're in line now for somewhere in the neighborhood 100,000 new jobs based on the things that we've already put in place and they've already started. But I want to finish that work, and I had to think long and hard about it. But my wife and I came to a conclusion last week that it's something I wanted to do, and I want to finish the job.
Our guest is Ike Leggett. He's the Montgomery County executive, and he's announced his bid for re-election. And I just want to ask you real quickly about your vision for Montgomery County. We're seeing all these stories about some zoning issues that are coming up where there's an effort to make it more urban, appeal to a younger crowd, a stay-late crowd, even some areas that will be zoned for businesses to be like a 24-hour sort of atmosphere for younger people to go out and enjoy and drink. And I get the feeling that a lot of people who live in Montgomery County, they want to have the proximity to an urban center like District of Columbia, but they want to be able to go home and have a little sleepier sort of existence. What do you think?
Well, that's a real challenge for us because on one hand, you have to start with how we visualize the county for many years. The county really has a very large amount of rural open space land. It's almost unusual that you find a county so close to the nation's capital with almost 100,000 acres of farmland.
That's really true.
Which means that we've directed most of the development in around metro and to certain centers. Now, those places certainly can achieve more development, but it creates problems with traffic, zoning, what have you. In addition to that, our population is growing much older and very young at the same time. Therefore, just what you just talked about is something that occurs, i.e., we have older families that settle to the rural and central portions of the county, but more younger people want a more hip environment, for lack of a better word. That's the District of Columbia. We want to make certain those kids that we educate, the ones that we create the jobs for, stay in Montgomery County. And so we've worked on both ends to accommodate the elder citizen, but also to make room and to ensure that those younger people want to stay in the county. So it's a real challenge. You have to sort of thread this needle here to keep the open space, the homes, the environment that people like, but also to recognize we have some urban centers in the county. And that's the conflict that we're going through. And one of the things, as I indicated earlier, that I want to make certain that we complete in terms of my next term as county executive.
All right, I want to talk about the Silver Spring Transit Center, which is a real problem, I know, for folks in Montgomery County right now. It wasn't monitored very well, and they built basically a transportation center that cannot now be used. So I want to ask the question I think we asked you last time. Did anybody get fired over that oversight?
Not yet, because I think when you look at it, this is a very unusual center. You don't have these kinds of centers anywhere else. And I would say what I said last time, even though our consultants, everyone else has looked at this and pointed the finger at the consultants, the designers, architects, and so forth, I take responsibility. It happened on my watch.
Well, let me stop you right there, because if it happened on your watch and it's your responsibility, I don't know, but I've built a house in Montgomery County, and I couldn't believe the number of times inspectors came and worried us to death about little things that I didn't think amounted to much, but we had to meet certain standards. Did that not take place? Did county officials not oversee this, and why didn't they raise the flag? And if they missed it, why didn't they get fired?
Well, you cannot have county officials on staff that could do this type of work. We went out and hired some of the best consultants in the world to go and oversee this. And so that's what we've done, because this is a very unique project. It's not like building a house. It's not like the normal inspection. This is you don't have any kind of center like this almost anywhere on the entire East Coast. So we hired the inspectors. We hired the people that would come out, outside consultants, some of the best in the world.
So you're telling me nobody was inspecting the inspectors?
Yes, but you don't have people that could inspect the inspectors on this type of a unique work. And so we did that. And what we found, and when we found a problem, we notified it. We're the ones who blew the whistle on this. I'm the one who said that I would not accept this center. I'm the one who said that I wanted to evaluate it more. I could have accepted the center without even knowing that it was inferior based on the standards we had followed and based on what you normally seen. But it's to our credit that I said, no, I want to look at it further. I want to inspect inspectors, as you just said, brought in additional inspectors that looked at it and said that the work was not acceptable. Keep in mind what we've done now. We've brought in everyone together. If you notice now, everyone is working together. The center can be repaired. The very same contractor who said, for example, that there's a problem also laid out a solution. We're now following that. The center will open fairly quickly, I think, and we'll get back to the work fairly quickly, and the center will open.
All right, so now
repaired and healthy.
Tens of millions of dollars spent on this thing now. How much more is going to be spent? Can you give us right now, bottom line, the final cost of the Silver Spring Transit Center?
Well, keep in mind, whatever the final cost is, Montgomery County is now responsible for that. That's the responsibility of the contractors based on the contract. And so that may cost them more, but it's not the county's responsibility. The contractors are now working on design to come up to fix it, and the county is simply making certain that they do so. We're not responsible for what we've seen that happened thus far, but they are responsible for fixing it. They've agreed to fix it. They are now working together, and it will be fixed.
All right, you're still all in on the rapid bus transit program? Because I thought for a while, to quote an old saying, I thought we killed that snake. I thought that was going away, and now it seems to be back, and it's going to be expensive.
Well, I'm not there as it relates to the overall plan, but here's one of the beauties of this, that you can do this in stages and you can do individual pieces of it, and that's what we're looking at. That entire plan, certainly the county cannot afford to do a plan of that comprehensive nature. It simply is not there in the cards, and I've said so. But there are different pieces of it in different quarters that I think that we can adopt that could provide traffic relief. So it's not an all-or-nothing proposition, and that's what we're looking at right now.
All right, really quickly, honestly, the most burning issue of our time in Montgomery County, Ike Leggett, I've got to ask you, there's a move to allow residents to have 6 chickens on their property. Are you pro-chicken or anti-chicken?
Yeah, where are you on the chickens?
I don't want the chickens in the urban areas.
No chickens in urban areas.
That's right.
Oh, so
the location that they've described to have these chickens, that's not where I am.
Wow, that's a bold move. All right. Those of you who are living in urban areas, you can't have chickens. You may lose the urban chicken vote on that one.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to really care about that.
All right. Well, Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Greatly
guys.
appreciate
Bye-bye.
it.